there today. So I should be.
Well, good morning. This is Charles Fowler. It's 8:46. I've been trying to get the computer to come up for about the last 5 or 10 minutes.
Tomorrow.
It's been very slow. In fact, more than 10 minutes. Sorry that I wasn't here at 8 o'clock this morning. I had left the house and was on the way in, and the expressway was at a complete standstill. So I took an alternate route, tried to go through downtown Birmingham. They had closed 2 different streets that would have allowed me to get on the expressway. I couldn't get on either one of them, so I ran around in circles for a while. Finally headed on out. I tried to get on one more time, but I saw the expressway was still backed up there, so I continued on out and wound up just coming an alternate route rather than the expressway, and that took me a lot longer than what it normally would have. So I got here to campus about 8:20, and then I saw that some of you had signed a roll sheet and slid it under my door. 2 more of you signed the roll sheet. In fact, one signed it after I was here, but I was down in the restroom when you came in and signed it. So because we are behind 3 classes now, one from last Thursday and one from last Tuesday. Sorry, I had a really bad reaction, just total fatigue after my infusion.
Any questions?
So I wasn't able to get here Tuesday at all. Okay. I thought I'd be here this morning, but then the traffic, and then I wound up walking out of the house while my phone was still on charge. I forgot to pick it up, so I couldn't call anybody to let them know that I was going to be here. So anyway, here's how we're going to make up. Okay.
Hopefully
I'm in
everybody, I know they haven't,
YouTube right now. I can't turn off the sound. Sorry about that. So I'm trying to speak over it. But here was the last class that we had.
So please get your papers in.
This was the last time we met. Nope, sorry.
Bonus ones. So you want those, get it in by
there we go. Was this class here, and we finished section 1.4. Last Thursday we should have started on 1.5. So what I need you to do, since we're not going to have time to make up all these things, now you notice that's at the end of the YouTube videos, okay, in our playlist. You can link this through Blackboard. Hopefully you know how to do this. Go to Blackboard Content, go to the very bottom of Content, and you'll see Math 112 YouTube videos. Click on this, and you'll get this listing. That's the last one we did in class, but I've saved all the others that we did beforehand. So going to the top of the list, not quite the top, here was 1.4 and 5. That's where we started on 1.5.
Any other questions?
Last time I taught the class.
We were on
and then
6.
This is 1.5 here, and the next one is 1.5 through 6. So I'm going to, so what you're to do is to go through these 2 right here, 1.4 through 5, 1.5, because this has some of the stuff we did last time. Then 1.5, and then 1.5 through 6. Okay, so 1.5 is on your own, using the YouTube videos, doing the homework exercises, doing the examples, using the
example 7, yeah, that's what we're going to start.
WatchingPrecalculus.com, using the CalcChat.com, using the CalcView.com. Don't think 1.5 is on you. Come to class on Tuesday. Now, I've got another treatment tomorrow. And hopefully it will not knock me out the way this last treatment did. Wow. Because I was completely wasted. My wife looked it up. Extreme fatigue is one of the byproducts of this, or effects of this treatment. And I had it. I mean,
here's the deal.
The weekend wasn't so bad.
Example 7 is on the slide.
Monday I was late getting in because I felt so bad, but I taught my 2 classes in and went home. But then Tuesday, I just could not move. I was all dressed and ready to go.
Find the inverse function of alphabet.
Sat down on the sofa, and I was scared to drive. I just felt that fatigued. So anyway, I couldn't come in Tuesday, and I would have been here today. So those 2 classes, if you'll do 1.4 through 5, that's a little bit of review of 1.4, starting 1.5, then this 1.5, and then start working on 1.5 through 6. When it comes to the end of 1.5, then go to today's. Now, today will be in 2 recordings because I'm late getting started, And then as soon as my trig class starts, I'll stop this recording and do the trig. And then
so exactly what you said,
and pick up and do a second recording
minus 3 has to be greater than or
probably will
equal
finish
to
most of 1.6.
in the radical has to be
And
non-negative.
I'll have your quiz ready for you. I would have given it out today, but nobody's here to take it. So
Add 3
I will
to
give
both
that
sides.
out to you
That
on
doesn't
Tuesday.
change anything.
So I'm going to get out of this because I know I'm talking over myself. So I'm going to clear out here,
to 3.
sound out
Now
of
what?
YouTube, and get started where we are picking up at today's class. Okay, I think I messed this up. I'm in 1.5. I need to be in 1.6. So let me change this and go to 1.6. Now, yeah, here it comes. So again, 1.5 is on you. Do the whole section. Use the YouTube videos. Use LarsonPrecalculus.com. Use CalcChat and use CalcView. Okay, and then come to class on Tuesday. Hopefully, I'll be here. Watch your emails. Emails and Blackboard. If I found out I cannot make it on Tuesday, I'll get the word out there like I did before. This time, I couldn't get the word out because I didn't have my phone with me. So anyway, we're picking up in 1.6 now. Like I said, we'll go for, I can't see the time now, but we'll go for about 35 minutes, and then after my trig class, I'll do another some length of time, and we'll go from there. So, continuing in Chapter 1, Functions and Their Graphs, 1.6 is a library of parent functions. Sort of a strange title, but what we're going to do is go over the basic functions that we're going to be dealing with pretty much in this course until we get to logarithmic and exponential functions. Then we'll get into some new ones. But here's where our objectives are. We'll identify and graph linear and squaring functions. Hopefully you're pretty familiar with linear functions. Squaring functions, just what it says. They're a type of polynomial function. We'll talk about those. We'll identify and graph cubic, square root, and reciprocal functions. And we'll identify and graph step and other piecewise defined functions. We'll recognize the graphs of the parent functions and go from there. So let's start with the simplest, linear and squaring functions. One of the basic goals of this text is to enable you to recognize the basic shapes of the graphs of different types of functions. Okay? For instance, you know that the graph of a linear function, f of x equal ax plus b, is a line with the slope m is equal to a. Okay, so they could have said mx plus b, but they said ax plus b and then said m is equal to a. Why that? I don't know. And the y-intercept is 0b. You're familiar with that. Now, in the old days, you called that y is equal to mx plus b. Now, in function notation, it's f of x. Y is equal to f of x is equal to ax plus b or mx plus b, where the coefficient for the x is the slope and the constant is the y-intercept, 0b. Now, what makes this a linear function? This is the key right here. The the exponent for the variable x is always exactly identically 1. Okay? That is a 1 there. You don't see it because you don't usually write the exponent of 1. But that is your what makes it a linear function. If that was 1.1, not a linear function. If it was 0.9, not a linear function. Okay? 2, 3, 17, not linear functions. The exponent for the variable right there has to be identically 1. That's then always a linear function. Okay? The graph of a linear function has the following characteristics. Okay? Let's start with the domain. The domain of the function is a set of all real numbers. Okay? That's generally what we assume your domain is unless we know otherwise. We've covered that in the previous section. 1.4, when that m is anything other than 0, remember our form, f of x is equal to mx plus b. When m is anything other than 0, in other words, it's not a 0 slope, it's not a horizontal line, the function, the range of the function is also the set of all real numbers. Okay? Now, the reason for that, if m was 0, your range is only the b. The y-intercept is a horizontal line that goes to the y-intercept. That's the only y value you have. If m is anything other than 0, 0.1, negative 0.05, then the range is all real numbers. Don't go there fast, but they still get there. So if you have any slope at all other than 0, then the range is all real numbers. Your domain is always all real numbers. Now, you usually don't think of this in these terms, but it is. The graph has an x-intercept of minus b over m, comma 0, okay? And the y-intercept, of course you know, is 0b. Where does this x-intercept come from? Well, let's go back to the function. Let me get my pen activated here. Okay? F of x is equal to mx plus b. I'm going to use m rather than a. I don't know why they used a before. Linear function. Always a linear function. Exponent of 1 makes it a linear function. M is your slope. B is the y-intercept. 0b is the y-intercept. Well, what is the x-intercept? The x-intercept is where y is equal to 0. What's your y? F of x. So you put a 0 in for the y equal mx plus b. Solve for x. Okay? So the first thing we would do is subtract b from both sides. And that would give us, these add to 0. I'm going to reverse the order here. Mx is equal to negative b. Okay? Again, solve for x, so we divide both sides by m. Now notice here, this is true as long as m is not 0. If m is 0, you can't divide by 0. Okay? But if m is anything other than 0, come on in. Good to see you. Pardon me? Yeah, we do.
I'm sorry. I had this appointment and I came back at 8:30, but I didn't see nobody in here through the window. So I just been walking around and somebody told me that she was in here.
Yeah, I'm here. Okay. Chris, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Anybody else came?
Pardon me?
Did anybody else come?
Some came earlier, but they left. I got, when I was coming in this morning, come up Red Mountain Expressway to get on 2059. When I got up to the exit for 2059, at a complete standstill. Okay? So I could not get on 2059. So I tried to go through downtown, and everywhere I went, roads were closed. I tried to go one way, the road was closed. Tried to go another way, the road was closed. So then I just started heading out, okay? And I headed out and was going to try to get back on the expressway. When I got so I could see the expressway again, it was still at a standstill. So I kept going on surface roads. I don't know. I have no idea. And then, from then on, I couldn't find, when I crossed the expressway, there wasn't an exit, an entrance to it. So I couldn't get there. I said, I'm giving up on the expressway. I'm going to just come on out. Well, the surface roads were really slow because I think everybody was on them because the expressway was backed up. So I wound up being late getting here. Now, I was here at about 8:20, but I stopped to see Dr. Thomas, talk with her, he explained what happened. And then I came up and nobody was in here, so I went to the restroom. So you must have come right when I was in the restroom, because my books must have been here because I'd already dropped them off here. But anyway, I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, when I walked in, I was like, where you go? I didn't even cancel, I didn't email, and I just came out there too.
Yeah. Okay. And today is the 8th, right? Is that right? I think it is. Let's see. 8th. Okay. So I've got you here. And the others will be counted here too because they did sign the roll sheet. But let's go on from here. Now, I know this is repetitive because I've already recorded this, but I'll tell you since you just got here. And I showed it, so you'll need to look at today's video and you'll see it. Now, the sad news is what I was doing was showing you on YouTube what classes to do there. We had finished 1.4 last Tuesday, okay, a week ago Tuesday. And then Thursday I was out because I had a treatment on Thursday. And then Tuesday I was out because I was just completely fatigued. I mean, way back, can't remember what year it was, 2009, when I had the really harsh chemo, it wiped me out really slick too. But then I've had 2 other kinds of treatments since then. None of them did like this one did. And my wife looked it up. She's an epidemiologist. And the thing said extreme fatigue. I had it. I mean, I got up Tuesday. I got dressed, was ready to come in. And I sat down on the sofa and I thought, I can't drive. It is not safe. Yeah, it was that bad. So after I went on back to bed, slept all morning long. I never can sleep in the daytime. I mean, I was just out. Got up, ate lunch, and then it was so nice on Tuesday, I took the dog outside and I sat in the lounge chair, fell asleep again. Outside, I'd never do that. And then came on in and slept most of the rest of the afternoon. Just completely wiped out. And so anyway, that's why I wasn't here Tuesday. So that made us 2 classes behind. And I was going to try to make up a class Tuesday, Yeah, I saw it. Yeah. But you couldn't make it. And I just could not make it. So and it was really fortunate I didn't, because then the next side effect hit, which was extreme diarrhea. So I was so glad I wasn't in the vehicle trying to drive in and went, ah! So I couldn't do that. So anyway, I came, so we're 2 classes behind. I thought maybe about making up all 3 classes today, today's class and the other 2, but I don't think I'll make it. I'm better than I was earlier in the week, but I still wear out awfully fast. So I'm just going to do today's class. Since I didn't get started till late, I've got my trig class coming up at 9:30, so I'll stop at 9:30, do the trig class, and then at 10:45, when that's over with, I'll go back and finish today's class. So what you have to do on your own is 1.5. I recorded all my lectures in last term when I taught this, and I showed this on YouTube video, and I showed it, on today's recording, so it'll be out there. You go and do the section. The lessons I do now go at the bottom of the YouTube playlist, okay? So that's where you go to get to, ones that you might miss this term. At the top of the playlist, not at the very top, but like the 4th one down or something, you'll see one that says 1.4 and 5. Do that. Then do the one that says 1.5, okay?
I was looking yesterday, but I thought I was doing the wrong one, so I said I'm just come to class and ask. Right.
And then there's one more that says 1.5 and 6. Well, do the 1.5 part of that one, and then we're picking up a 1.6. That's where I started today. All right, so this is where we were in 1.6. We're talking about linear and squaring functions, and what I was describing is where they get this thing, the graph of a linear function. By the way, a linear function is like this. F of x is equal to mx plus b. That's like a good old straight line in an equation. Y is equal to mx plus b. Slope-intercept form. This is always in slope-intercept form. This is slope, b is the y-intercept. 0b is the y-intercept. Okay? Now, where do they get the x-intercept to be this weird number? Okay? Well, what you do, an x-intercept is always for y is 0. What's y in function notation? I said this is one thing to remember in this course. Y is equal to alpha of x. Okay, so you put a 0 in for the alpha of x, that's going to be your y, and then that's mx plus b. We'll then subtract b from both sides, and these go out, and now reverse the order. Mx is equal to minus b. Again, solve for x, divide both sides by m, and that's right where I was getting to when you came in, and that gives you the m's go out, and x is equal to minus b over m. Okay, so that's where you get your x-intercept. X-intercept is minus b over m, 0. Okay? The y-intercept, of course, is, that's where x is 0. So put a 0 in here, y is equal to b. So 0b is what the y-intercept. But you knew that already, right? All you did, y is equal to mx plus b. The b is the y-intercept, 0b. Okay? All right. Now, this is linear functions. We aren't in squaring functions yet. Okay. If that m, remember if m is not 0, if m is 0, you've got a horizontal line. Okay? That's all you've got. Okay, a horizontal line. But if m is not 0 and is positive, then you have an increasing function. If m is negative, then you have a decreasing function, and of course it's constant where m is equal to 0. Okay? So those are other features, characteristics of your linear function. Okay? Now, got it? Okay. Here's example 1. Write the linear function for which f of 1 is equal to 3 and f of 4 is equal to 0. Write the linear function. Okay? Now, a linear function, remember, is going to look something like this. F of x is equal to mx plus b. That's going to be how your linear function looks, right? Okay. So what do we need to determine to find out what that function is? We need to determine two things. What is m and what is b? Okay? Now, how do you get m? What is m? The slope. That's what m is the slope. Now, say again? We don't know that for sure, do we? In fact, I would say not. Okay? How do you find the slope? You don't even need pre-calculus. Go back to algebra. How did you find the slope? Okay. What is, Okay. M is equal to, this is going back to algebra now, not in function notation. Y 2, ring a bell, minus y1 over, what goes next? x2 minus x1. Rise over run. That's what slope is. Rise over run. Okay? Change of y divided by the change of x. Right? Rise over run. Okay? Now, from what they told us up there, do you know a y2, a y1, a x2, or a x1? Yes, you do. What is f of x? Okay, what is f of x in general? said this is one of the most important things to remember in this course. What is f of x? We already said it at least once today. Just about every day we've done. Okay? Y is equal to f of x. Okay? Now, when you look at this, what's your x, what's your y?
X is 4, y is 1.
Okay? On this one, x is 4 and y is 0. You got it. Now, you want that to be x1, y1, or you want that to be x2, y2? I don't care. It doesn't really matter. You want that to be 1 or 2? 1? Okay. So this will be x sub 1. This will be y sub 1. Is that what you said? Okay. And then guess what the other one might be?
Oh, the other one is going to be 1, 3. So it's going to be 1.
Which x?
X2.
X2. And this will be y2. Because f of x is equal to y. Alpha of x2 is y2. Alpha of x1 is y1. Okay? Alpha of x is equal to y. Okay? Now, we take that and plug it into our slope formula. So m is equal to what? Say again? Plug it in. 3 minus 0 over 1 minus 4. Okay? And what's 3 minus 0? Second? 3 minus 0. 3. Okay? And what's 1 minus 4? Second? Negative 3. Okay? What's 3 over negative 3? Second? I don't think so. What one? Negative 1. Okay. Negative 1. There's your slope. We've got half of the problem done now. F of x is equal to minus 1, that's your m, times x plus b. Okay? Now, all we need to do is figure out what b is. Okay? Now, I know we already used both of those points over there, but guess what? What does this stand for? What is f of x?
Y.
Y. And there's an x, right? So you can pick either one of those xy pairs and plug them in. Which one you want to use? Alpha 1 equals 3 or alpha 4 equals 0? I don't care. Alpha 1 equals 3. So here we'll do f of 1 is equal to minus, and x is 1, right? Plus b. But what is f of 1? Huh? Yep. F of 1 is? What is f of 1? Read it. No, alpha 4 is 0.
Oh,
3. Okay. So instead of f of 1, we'll put 3 is equal to minus 1 plus b. Solve for b. Solve for b. How do you solve for b? What's that? Okay. To isolate the b, what would you have to do? Add 1 to both sides, right? right? And what does that give us? B is equal to 4. B. What's that? I can't hear. Oh, I see. Okay. So B is equal to 4. Now we've got our whole function. F of x is equal to, m was minus 1x plus b is 4. Okay? Now, you don't have to write the minus 1 if you didn't want to. You could just do minus x plus 4. Right? Okay. Let's see if that works. When we plug a 1 in for x, this gives you negative 1 plus 4 is 3. Perfect. And when you plug a 4 in for x, negative 4 plus 4 is? So again?
You said negative 4 plus 4?
Yeah, negative 4 plus 4. So again?
Negative 4 plus 4 is 0.
Yes, exactly. And that's exactly what you get. Sure enough, there's your function. Write the linear function for which that point works and that point works. Okay? When you have 2 points, use the slope formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Y rise over run. Calculate your slope. Plug that into your linear function. Okay? Except now you know what m is, so put minus 1 for m. Now plug in either one of the other two. Either 1 and 3 or 4 and 0. It doesn't matter which. So you chose to do a 1, so plug a 1 in here and a 1 in there. That would be f of 1 is equal to minus 1 plus b. But you know f of 1 is 3, so plug that in, and you have 3 is equal to minus 1 plus b. Add 1 to both sides, you get b is equal to 2. Then plug both of those numbers in to your original formula. That's what you're looking for, the linear function, right? The linear function. F of x, you go back to your x's now, is equal to minus x plus 4. There it is, right there. Make sense? Okay. Can I erase that, or you still need it? Okay. So let's see how they did it. Okay? To find the equation of a line that passes through x1, y1 was 1, 3. Hey, we use that as x2, y2. Is that going to mess us up? Not at all. Okay? x2, y2 is 4, 0. Fine. First find the slope. Just like we did before, y2 minus y1, but in this case it's going to be 0 minus 3, right? It's going to be minus 3, right? Over 4 minus 1. That's a plus 3. Minus 3 over plus 3 is? Yeah. No, it isn't.
Oh, 1. You said this is, okay, it's 1. Negative.
Negative 1. Perfect. So I say it doesn't matter which order you name them. It doesn't matter, just be consistent. Once you name them, be consistent. So what that gives us is 0 minus 3 over 4 minus 1, minus 3 over positive 3, and that is minus 1. There's your slope. Okay? Now, they're doing it slightly differently. They use the point slope formula. To me, that's just another formula to remember. Okay? But it works. This time we're going to do y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. We already figured out what m was, minus 1. But it's just a different way to do it. Our y1, remember we said, was our three, wasn't it? And the x1 was 1. I don't remember. Let me go back. Yeah. y1 was 3 and x1 was 1. So we plug that in. Y minus 3 is equal to minus 1 times x. Sorry. X minus 1. Okay. So y minus 3 is equal to minus 1 times x minus 1. Just plugging in the substitute x1, y1, and m. Okay? Well, first distribute the -1 across the parentheses, and that'll be, well, they skip several steps. So that would be y minus 3 is equal to minus x plus 1. Then they added 3 to both sides, and you get minus x plus 4. Same thing we got, just depends on whether you want to do an extra form, point slope form, or just plug into our original form. It doesn't matter. They both work. So there's your point slope form for an equation of a line. We wanted the function, and what is y? F of x. So instead of y, we put f of x. F of x is equal to minus x plus 4. That's function notation. What's that? Yeah, exactly. Okay? Make sense? Okay. Now, here is the graph of that function. Okay? Like it's, yeah. I'm sorry? Oh, is it? Okay. Do you have a 9:30 class, you say? Okay. All right. Let's just show this graph here. Remember our 2 points? It was 1, 3, and 4, 0. Sure enough, there's a line through it. Y-intercept was plus 4. Slope was minus 1. Okay? And how we knew it was a downhill slope was this was 1, 3, that was 4, 0, had to be going downhill. So there's your equation of the linear function. Okay? We will pick up, and what I'm going to do, as soon as my trig class is over with, I'll come back and pick up right here. Okay? This is the top of page. Say again? I can't hear you. It will be there probably at the end of my trig class, because it has to upload to YouTube and then I have to move it around. So yeah, I'll do that now then. Okay, and then we'll do another 45 minutes after 10:45. I'll go 10:45 until 11:30 or so. So if you can come back then, be there. If not, I'll be in here. I'll record it. So there'll be 2 YouTubes today. This one.